Hello and welcome. We're going to start tonight's program. This is Susan Garlish. I am the Teen Services Manager here at DeKalb Public Library. Welcome everyone to our panel discussion on the subject of art and equality. I'd like to thank our program partners, Sycamore Public Library, Kishwaukee Community College Library, Northern Illinois University's Founders Library. Thank you very much. On tonight's panel is Jeff Foster, owner of Common Grounds Coffee and Snack Shop in downtown DeKalb. Jeff has a background in graphic art and is currently raising funds to expand his shop in order to provide a place for young artists to create. Welcome, Jeff.
Hello, everybody.
Also joining us tonight is teacher and author Aurelius Raines, who has teamed up with DeKalb Public Library to offer weekly graphic novel writing classes. Welcome, Aurelius.
Hello, how are you doing? Happy to be
Good.
here.
Thank you. And finally, Stacey Robinson, artist, educator, and co-founder of Black Kirby, a creative duo of Afrofuturist hip-hop inspired critique of depictions of Black people and their history. Welcome, Stacey.
Hi, how's it going, everyone?
If you go, audience members, if you go to the DeKalb Public Library's YouTube page, you can view two videos with interviews with Jeff and Stacey. We interviewed together back in August, and those are recorded and you can hear more of their stories. Well, I am very happy to welcome 7 DeKalb teens who will be our interviewers tonight. They are members of a local group, Teen Talk, whose leader is also with us, Tiffany Tucker. Hello, Tiffany. She is the founder of Building Leaders Advocating for Change, Inc. She has been challenging DeKalb leaders to provide real examples of change. I'm very proud of her. Welcome, Tiffany, and welcome members of Teen Talk. Some housekeeping for our audience. Everyone is muted. You are able to change your name if you'd like, but your input is important to us. That is why you have access to the chat feature, and Lara here at the library is monitoring that and will respond to you. If you have any questions, if you have questions for the panelists, go ahead and put them there. We want you to come away from tonight's program inspired that art can uplift and bring about change that we all want. So while we may touch on some deep subjects and raise some painful experiences, ultimately, the purpose of tonight's program is to raise awareness and inspire anti-racism in our community. And finally, tonight's program is being recorded to share on our YouTube channel. So, I'm going to go ahead and take myself off the video here. And Tiffany, when you're ready, are you able to unmute people?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you just go ahead and do that, because there's a lot looking at me right now. So I'll see. Oh, and you know what? Stick around, everybody, at the end, because your input is important for programming, keeping our programming good, and we have an evaluation to fill out. So I will, and it's all you, Tiffany.
All right, so we're going to get started with our 7 questions. I came up with these questions because I was trying to figure out how to get the best the best out of what we want the kids to take away from this and what we want them to learn.
I'm totally teasing you, Tiffany.
I know, it's okay. I mean, because we wanted them to ask the hard questions, but I wanted to give them a soft start to dive into that. just so that they can have an idea of where we want this conversation to go and the things that we're trying to accomplish and how we plan on helping and healing all at the same time. So our first young leader, our first young leader is going to be Kiari. I'm going to unmute her, and she has question number 1.
My question was, the Black Lives Matter murals have been a great way to show support and bring the community together as recent as the one place in NYU campus. How do you feel about them being defaced and vandalized by people of color and other groups? I feel like it's disrespectful because we're trying to come together as a community, and people to just like disrespect that it's not something that you would do. Like, if you don't agree with it, that's fine, but to go out of your way and go vandalize it and go destroy stuff because you don't disagree with it is very disrespectful, in my opinion.
So should we start? We'll just go alphabetically. How's that?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. So Aurelius is first.
Yeah.
All right.
So, so we're going to create art and we're going to make beautiful things, right? And one thing we need to recognize is that when we create art, the job of art is to inspire response, right? And if art does not inspire response, it is not necessarily doing its job. And so whenever we create art that affirms Black life, right? And then someone decides to come along and deface and vandalize that art, right? They're actually speaking against Black life. And just like in the body, the way that we get sick, that whenever we get sick or whenever we have a fever, that's a response to a virus that's in us that our body is fighting. I think this type of vandalism is the same kind of way. You know, it's really difficult to deny the presence of the hate and the anti-Blackness and the racism that we all encounter when things like this happen. And so I would not go as far as to say that this is a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. But what I will go for to say is that this is the exhibit. This is what we need to be looking at whenever we say Black Lives Matter, and then people begin to argue. And people want to have a response that controverts that, right? When Black Lives Matter is a controversial statement, I think this is all the more reason why we need to produce things that continue those arguments and put those things forward. Stacey?
I think Jeff is.
I think I'm next. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So broke my heart. You know, it took me a long time. You know, I've drawn my whole life. Always been into, you know, everything: comic books, manga, anime, movies, you name it. Anything where art is meant to inspire others and like someone said a minute ago, bring us together, right? Well, you know, it can also be used for evil. We've seen that. I mean, there's a lot of ways that advertising in particular was one of the things that I wanted as a teenager. I wanted to break into advertising or marketing because I didn't like the images and the promotions and the things that were being said about people of color. So it's not surprising that, oh, you have something to say and it's positive. Well, we're going to turn that towards negative. And it's not surprising at all, but it breaks my heart. It shows the temperature of the room, so to speak, in terms of what is going on in DeKalb and in other parts of our country. DeKalb is unique because this part of the Midwest, this part of the Chicagoland area, it's quiet racism. And we must be doing something right because we got a response. Unfortunately, it's you know, rather than communicate, which art is a form of communication, it becomes something slanderous.
I'm not as familiar with the defacing of the murals on the campus, but this has been happening. The defacing of the Black Lives Matters being painted in the streets, for example, they've been being defaced right nationally. So here I'm going to say this, and this isn't the most politically correct answer, but in a particular way, this is exciting to me, and I'm happy to see this. Now, understand what I mean by this. Really listen to this next point. This is what progress looks like. Whenever we rise and call for equality, equity, restorative justice, this is the pushback. This is a response to the inevitability of equity and restorative justice. This is what this looks like. So it excites me in a particular way because that means that we are winning. Like in some tangible ways, we are winning. The pushback that we get for this is exactly this. So it's a sign to me that in some way that we're winning. I'm not saying that this should take place, but it does take place, and we have to be honest. Like it does take place. We have to be honest about what that is. But we also, I think, have an opportunity to realize that this is what the inevitability of equity, equality, and restorative justice looks like, right? So the response to that is exactly what you see, and worse, in all honesty, and worse.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on what Stacey just said, quiet racism, you know it's quiet racism because you're being ignored. So we're getting a response. Just the term Black Lives Matter as a communication device, you're getting an instant response from people who otherwise have nothing to say about people of color. Suddenly, they rise up and they say, oh, wait, all lives matter.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hitting the target. Well said.
One of the things that, I always tell younger artists that I work with, these younger people who are getting involved in activism, is that it is very difficult for people to imagine what it was like just in the 80s. You know, there was such a hard press to have a conversation about us, or not even have a conversation, just to go ahead and put forth the image that we're past racism, right? That, you know, racism was a thing of the past. That's something that happened back in the 60s. And that's not, and for us to be having these type of conversations now, these very real, raw conversations about race in America is amazing. And you got to know that the reason that we are seeing so much pushback is because we're actually doing something important. Like, we're actually making headway, we're actually making progress in a way where we're bringing up conversations that Americans have not been having on a popular level, on a wide level, up until, you know, again, the last couple of decades. And now that we're doing that, it seems like, you know, all of a sudden racism has gotten worse. And it's not gotten worse. It's just that we're talking about it. We're just having a conversation about it.
Yep.
And those video cameras, boy, I tell you.
Can't hide.
And I was just about to say that, you can't hide. Well, thank you for